the last couple years, the governor has put forward $10, $12. Now he's talking about moving it up to $15. Does the governor? Are you the guys that gives the governor the information as to what's a good number to pick for minimum wage?
I mean, I think it's a function of the entire cabinet and looking at certainly the Department of Budget, Department of Labor and Industry, all weigh in on what the numbers should look like.
Okay, because it's just changed each year, so that's why we're trying to figure out exactly where that's coming from. Because according to data from the Census Bureau, most of the jobs with minimum wage deal are small businesses. They're not the big gold corporations that are out there. They're the small businesses, and that's where my district is. I have boroughs, and my businesses are Main Street businesses. These are not the big corporations that are out there that have hundreds of thousands of employees. These are the ones that have 12. And so your comment earlier, and this is where my question is, that you've found that they have said that this will have no effect whatsoever on their business. And just doing the math, I guess I want to push that a little bit in the sense of saying, these small businesses operate in the red or in a very small margin of 1%, 2%, 3% of profit. But now we're talking about increasing the payroll for their 12 employees, 13, whatever the small number of employees, but it still adds up. It's going to be more than the 2 to 3%. How can you say it will have no effect whatsoever?
I mean, again, that's my opinion, that it would have no effect whatsoever. It might, and I shouldn't have said whatsoever, it probably might have some effect on some really small companies. But we're looking at what's happened in the past. I mean, this hasn't been increased for 10 years. So 10 years ago, when the cost of living, the consumer price index was much less, they were able, a lot of small businesses were able to develop that, were able to run properly. We're just trying to get to the point where we think that it is a fair amount of money. We're trying to get to the point where we're bringing people out of poverty. And we're trying to get to the point where businesses also can continue to exist and make a good profit.
But if you're going from jumping from one, and I understand what you're saying, you're going back to when it was last done. And I respect that as to the fact that it was a number of years ago. But to go to a business, because one of the things I used to work with the Meeby Weeby program, and I'm probably dating myself when I mention that, but it's the ability, I sat there and reviewed how many small businesses wanted to start, how many women-owned, how many minority-owned businesses wanted to start up, just particularly for that program. But DCED deals with so many, that's what you're supposed to be doing, economic development, and they're small businesses. And so for the ability for us to turn that back around and say, well, it hasn't been raised in X amount of time, so you have to bear the brunt of this, I think it's tremendously not only unfair, but it's also the ability of saying you must pay for everybody else's sins, and therefore you can't make payroll and you'll have to close. So do you see this affecting the small grant programs that DCED is fundamental about giving out if we mandate how they have to pay their staff and where it has to be by making that huge jump right now? Because they're starting out, they're putting in their own money, they're putting in money that they get from possibly DCED and other entities. They won't be able to make this payroll, and they're trying to start up and they have all these other costs, and now we're going to say their hourly employee for all of their or hourly rate for all their employees has to jump tremendously. How do you see that affecting all the grant programs and everything that you oversee in DCED?
Well, first of all, I mean, there's a lot that you said, a lot that you included in there. One of the things that we've done is we've started the one-stop shop for businesses. So to help entrepreneurs, to help people that are starting their companies, to where previously what used to happen is they would have to go to 4 or 5 different agencies within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to determine how to start that business, how to get that. So what they would have to do is they would have to pay a CPA, pay a lawyer to do a lot of that background work. We've taken that away to where there's a phone call, there's a website that people can go to that connects them to all these different areas that has all that information on one website. So we're trying to really make it that much easier for entrepreneurs to start a business and to establish a business and be successful at that business. I think, and I'm not sure, again, I'm looking at the fact that 10 years ago, the legislature approved a minimum wage, and 10 years ago, that minimum wage was an amount of money that the legislature felt was an appropriate amount of money at that time. We don't believe that that's appropriate right now. We believe that amount needs to increase. We also see a number of people, again, I see this. I see people that are living in poverty because they're getting paid minimum wage. Or I see people that are getting double shifts, taking double shifts and can't spend enough time with their family because they need that money because they're being paid minimum wage. So that's kind of what we're looking at. That's from the angle that we're approaching this from.
But will it affect the grants that you give out? The businesses that are coming into you?
I don't know that it will affect the businesses that are coming into us. I mean, part of the one-stop shop is going to...
You think the reduced cost that you're talking about will then balance out with the increase in payroll?
Part of the one-stop shop that we have is a one place where they can look at and have all the tools to develop, to build a business, and this is for entrepreneurs, for people that are starting a business. We think that we have the opportunity and we have the resources to be able to help everybody throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania who wants to do that.
And my time is running, I apologize, but having so many small businesses, they have come to me, and obviously those are not the ones you're speaking to because they have said time and time again, we cannot afford to do this. And they don't even pay minimum wage. They pay more than minimum wage. So even saying, but making that jump in one shot is just going to devastate their payroll and devastate their budget. So they do not support this.